I'm back for another video. My name is Josh Kastic, and today is my Graves of the Firefly review. Now this is another Studio Ghibli anime film for my Studio Ghibli anime film review series on my channel. So before I get into the plot, let's kind of get this straight. This movie is not for the faint of heart. It is very, very brutally realistic, and not only is it brutal, it's sad. It takes place during World War II, and basically this does not have a happy ending. It's just all types of sad, and so if you can't take that, you might not be able to watch this film. You might, and let's see what else. But because of its honesty, my dad thinks that this movie should be shown in schools, specifically for World War II. At least in Japan, like it should be shown because it's just the way it's made. All right. So with that being said, let's kind of get into the plot. All right. So the movie kind of starts with basically you have a bunch of these people in like maybe a train station, is that the best way? But most of them are all dead, and our main character literally just dies. Right there. Yes. The main character dies. And basically you have like this worker who sees him, but then we see his spirit kind of go, leave, kind of, meets this little girl, and that's also supposed to be dead, with all these fireflies, and they kind of go off. And the boy starts to narrate what happened to this event, and then we go back into the past and see exactly what caused his death and everything. So, his name is, what was his name? Was it pronounced, like Saito? Saita, I think that's it. Saita, yeah. And then he's also with his sister, Setsuko. And they are, well, essentially, this is in 1945, and they live in the town of Kobe, I think that's how it's pronounced, and it's being bombed. And so their mother is having them, like, kind of bury their stuff, and then they need to go to shelter. Well, so they started to go to shelter. They got separated from their mother, and then after the bombing stopped, Saita finds that his mother is in the hospital, and he goes there, and that she was actually hurt by one of the bombs and unfortunately dies. And so they go to live with a distant aunt, and they basically take all the stuff that they digged up and gave it to his aunt, and over time they would, he would get money from their mother's bank in order to use it to get food, and then they would, like, the rice and stuff, they would share the rice with the aunt, and the aunt would cook food for them and everything, and they would also have to sell some of their mother's clothing to get more money and everything, just to get food and stuff to survive during World War II, as the bombs and everything's kind of destroying everything, and everything's kind of, they have to eat rations and all that type of stuff, so it's really bad. Well, unfortunately, the aunt starts to, how would I put this? Now, I forgot to mention, Saita never tells his sister, his little sister, that, and she's really young, that, I think maybe 5, I think she is, and he's like in his, like, teenage, maybe like junior high-ish, maybe. I don't think he's high school. I'm not 100% sure about that. High school, but that's kind of how it is. But so in order to make Setsuko happy, he doesn't tell her about the mother's death, which is kind of. But the aunt knows, and apparently we find out later in the film that the aunt actually told Setsuko anyway. So it's really, like, that's kind of unfortunate, but that's how it is. But the aunt started to not like the children and doesn't think they're worthy of her cooking her food. And she kind of insults them, and so he decides to take his sister and leave. They find a shelter, and they start living in the shelter. They capture fireflies to kind of light up their little shelter, but eventually they died, and Setsuko kind of built a grave for the fireflies, hence the name. And they Setsuko tells Seita why these flies die like mommy. That's what she said, obviously. And this when revealed that she knows that her mother is dead. And then they kind of Saita kept getting money from the bank, but eventually when it ran out, he started to go steal food from farmers, as well as raid people's homes during bomb raids and to get stuff. But eventually he gets caught by one farmer and gets beat up and taken to the police. But the police know that he was obviously just stealing because he's trying to fight for survival, and just let him go. And then he comes back to find out that Setsuko has gone sick, and so he takes her to a doctor, and the doctor tells him that she's sick of malnutrition. She's not getting enough food, and eventually he goes off to get more food for her. But when he comes back, she's dying, and once he's done preparing the food, she's already dead. And then he kind of basically cremated her, and that's kind of so that's and she is that little girl from the beginning that's already dead. And then eventually, Saita eventually finds out that Japan has surrendered to America. World War II is over, and so he now believes that his father, who was a Navy captain, has died, most likely. And then he goes to a train station, and he eventually comes to his malnutrition and die. And then you have this people who janitors have to take these bodies for the Americans to show up, so that's unfortunate, but basically what's left is kind of back to where the film began, where Saita went to his spirit went with his sister with the graves of the fireflies, and they all they go on what's it called? They kind of go on a journey of spirit where they kind of live as like I said, ghosts, and eventually they kind of parked on a place that's kind of looking over Kobe, and that's kind of a hilltop, and so that with the fireflies essentially, and that's kind of how the movie ends. All right, so overall, my thoughts. Well, this is a beautifully made film. It's stunning. The animation art is really well. And the story itself is written phenomenally. It is well done. But unfortunately, it is a realistic, sad film, and so it's really hard to watch. I mean, it's talking about children dying. They're dying they're trying to survive, and unfortunately, they die. And this is realistic. This is exactly things that kind of happen in real life during this time. It's unfortunately sad, but it's what happened. And I think this is a movie that needs to be shown in order to show this cannot happen again. We can't have this happen again. And I think that they definitely should show that more in history class, because history class is all about, the whole point of teaching history is that we don't repeat it. And so this is an important film to show that, because this is what happens to civilians in war. This is what happens, and this can't happen again. And that's the main point of teaching history. So That's why it's definitely it should be shown in class. It should be. It's not. Maybe I'm not sure if it's shown in Japan. I definitely know it's not shown here. At least it wasn't shown when I was in high school or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely do think they should show this in school. But if you're going to watch it outside of school, I do think you should watch it at least once. I think it's an important film to watch. But if you don't like really sad stories and just can't handle how sad this is, then it's alright if you don't watch it, but that's kind of my thoughts on the film, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you're new, subscribe to the notification bell so you're notified for my next upload. My YouTube channel, website link, my Twitter, my Snapchat, and Instagram are all in the description as always. And thank you. Goodbye.